Alright, it's time to do another versus battle. Yeah, I'm doing a request and I'm doing a versus battle request, so that spices it up, hopefully. So, today we're going to be talking about Part 2 Joseph versus Part 3 Jotaro. AKA them at their youngest, slash primes, them at their absolute peak, actually going against each other. Like, a Joseph and Jotaro battle, basically a battle of the centuries. So, who would win this battle of peak main JoJo's, like the best ones, like the ones who've been in since the beginning and they've gotten a lot of screen time? Who wins at their best peak? Well, I'm going to answer this question right now. And while it was requested, I unfortunately lost the request. At the moment, I'm not taking requests, and I'm going to have to state this in a lot of my videos at the moment, so requests won't be open, and they're not going to be open for a little while. So, folks, buckle up, because this is going to be a very interesting what if. So, the first character I'm going to scale is Joseph. So, some backup on Joseph. Joseph was the main character of JoJo Part 2, and is the grandson of Jonathan Joestar. Now, Joseph did inherit something from Jonathan, and except from his last name, minus from that, he inherited his hormone power. And Joseph is actually pretty good at hormone. In fact, he learned hormone when he was a kid. And ever since during the events of Part 2, he's also had hormone and a lot of good strength like his grandfather. And not only that, but he's a very technical and smart guy, using a lot of smart maneuvers to actually win a lot of his fights, using a lot of clever ideas. He also had to probably go against the toughest opponents in the parts or the franchise, and that's the Pillarmen, which are basically stronger vampires, if I had to describe it at best. Basically vampires on steroids. And not only that, but Joseph is just extremely... he's just freaking lucky. He is, by far, always able to get away because of luck alone. And when I mean that, I mean he straight up defeated and killed the ultimate life form by having to sacrifice his own hand just so he can win. He also pulled a Tommy gun out of nowhere. He literally is able to get away with doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and despite that, he's like pretty much just a hormone guy. He has no stands, well, not in this form, but he's able to pull it all off. All this crazy stuff, all these crazy feats, he only is able to pull off because of intelligence and luck. Like, he's not straight up an actual, like, he is a strategist, but he's not to the extent where every move he does is this tactical move. No, he just straight up gets dumb luck and is able to roll a 6 all the time. So, like, that's Joseph. Quite honestly, not the strongest JoJo, arguably, but probably the smartest and the fastest and, like, straight up the luckiest and craziest. One of the best JoJos. And I generally do think this is going to be a tough fight, even without a stand. Now, let's talk about the next character here, and that's Part 3 Jotaro. Now, to all the people who are familiar with my channel, you will know that this is not my first ever time doing a versus battle, let alone scaling Jotaro. In fact, I've only done 5 versus battles, granted, but of the 5, Jotaro plays a part, or at least is the main focus, in 3 out of the 5. Yep, 3 of my versus battles, and there's 2 not really about him. Heck, in like one of them, no, you could technically argue 4, because he technically does get referenced in one of them. So there's like one video where there's barely anything that has to do with Jotaro. Just only one. So all my versus battles, or most of them, have all had something to do with Jotaro in some way, shape, or form. So instead of just scaling Star Platinum off the bat, I'm just gonna throw in a funny joke.
There's a big naked blue Fabio behind you! You can see that Tarzan on steroids too?
I hope you found that one funny. Okay, here's Star Platinum, and here are its stats. It's got strength of A, strength of C, range of C. Everything else are just A's. You honestly kind of get it. We all know Star Platinum, super strong, super fast, does barrages, Starfinger, then he maybe can stop time, and I guess I'll bring this up now in that, is Jotaro going to be able to stop time in this fight? Now, I'm gonna go with the assumption, assume that he doesn't. So I'm gonna assume this happened pre-Dio fight. So he doesn't have time stop. He doesn't have any of those hacks. He's got to go in just Star Platinum without time stop. This is because giving him time stop would make the fight honestly really unfair. And I feel like removing time stop at least gives Joseph a better chance against Jotaro. So let's actually start the actual battle. But before I actually do it, I am going to address something. So in this, I will not be addressing their later counterparts, only their first counterparts. So no Part 3 Joseph and no Part 4 Joseph. And the same logic applies here with Jotaro, so no Part 4 Jotaro and no Part 6 Jotaro. If you want to, I can tell you in the comments how an actual fight like that would go, assuming we went with the actual, other older forms. But I'm just going to go and just do their young forms. I can tell you in the comments if you're interested to know how Part 4 Jotaro versus Part 3 Joseph would go, or Part 6 Jotaro versus Part 3 Joseph. Any fight with Part 4 Joseph loses automatically, so that's all I wanted to address before we did. So, yeah, let's roll to the actual fight now. So, we're at the Alessi fight, which is where I feel like the best place for this to happen would be. And old Joseph is there in that arc, coincidentally enough. It's as if fate is wanting this battle to happen, hypothetically speaking. So, Alessi uses his stance Sethin, Joseph gets touched by the shadow, and he becomes Part 2 Joseph. Jotaro is also there, and he doesn't get aged down in this timeline. I assume Joseph's just the one who stands there and gets aged down instead. And, Jotaro, Polnareff, and Joseph, they're probably able to blitz Alessi, something like that. And then this just leads to Joseph not wanting to be aged down yet. I'm assuming he's not aged down yet. He's still goofy Part 2 young Joseph for a while. So Joseph probably says something, he's being typical Joseph, etc. And then Jotaro just gets angry, and it may just cause a battle. For the sake of plot, I'm going with this route. This is kind of the only way I could think of this fight logically happening. So Joseph may awaken Hermit Purple, because Araki did state if the Crusaders went back in time somehow, they would have met Part 2 Joseph with Hermit Purple. So maybe he could have awoken in the fight, but I can't really say. But off the bat, Joseph would likely run away, assuming that he can just sense Star Platinum or something. I don't know. But Joseph does the old Joestar technique. Jotaro sees him go, probably gets angry, and Joseph may just pull off all of his traps, Tommy guns, crazy stunts like that, getting extremely lucky. But eventually, Jotaro is going to catch up, and he's just going to beat him up. Yeah, and even if we're giving Joseph Hermit Purple's stats are strength is D, speed is C, range is D, precision is I cannot see because I'm using the Part 4 stand chats. The precision is D and the potential is E, so what is that going to do against Star Platinum? All Joseph can honestly just do is just run away constantly. So, yeah, that's really his only hope there. Because he'll eventually be caught up by Star Platinum, which I assume Joseph is not going to outspeed. So, Joseph will eventually be caught up, and Star Platinum's going to wreck him because look at those stats. And assuming we just gave Jotaro a time stop, it'd just be an even bigger clean sweep than it was talking about the video. So yeah, this is kind of an unfair fight. Okay, the only way I could honestly see Joseph winning is if Joseph had a smart enough game plan, was able to plan out said game plan enough to a point where he eventually was able to tire out Jotaro and then get the jump on him. So in other words, that's likely the only way I see Joseph winning. Otherwise, Jotaro just has a far better power, and he just makes short work of young Joseph, in my humble opinion. So, conclusion and my overall take on this final fight, Jotaro is winning this one. Yeah, I know, a lot of people were expecting Joseph because of big brain stuff, but like, listen, man, you're not gonna beat Star Platinum unless you're ridiculously fast, or just have a powerful hack, or you're just not cocky, arrogant, and stupid. That's the only way you can win. And while Joseph is cocky, granted, I could see him maybe being able to pull off a stunt, but like, even then, he may just get too cocky and just Jotaro would probably just pummel him down to the ground. It's like, either way, how is Joseph going to beat Jotaro when he can't even see Star Platinum? And even if we're giving him that chance to see it, I can't really see Joseph doing much, because it's likely he's going to interact with it unless he had Hermit Purple. So I'm giving the W to Jotaro, ultimately. So thanks for watching the video. Whoever requested the video, I hope you got your video, and I hope you enjoyed it. So thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Share this video.